So you want to know what makes a Harley-Davidson police model different than your touring model? Then you've clicked on the right video.
This is a seat on the 2010 Harley-Davidson Electra Glide.
So on the 2010 Harley-Davidson Electra Glides, the seats is a saddle style seat that is supported by an airbag.
And here's the gauge that tells you how much pressure is, and then this little knob right here is where you put your air in using a hand air pump. A couple years after the 2010s, they found out that the air systems on these seats are, well, they tend to leak, and so they went to more of a mechanical seat. So you no longer have the place to add air. Alright guys, so I showed you guys the air seat earlier on the 2010s. This is the little air pump that you use to put air into the system. Funny story about this air pump is we didn't know that we had to have this whenever we purchased the 2010 models. And so I rode for about 3 to 4 weeks on a seat that had no air in it. And being a person that grew up riding Hondas and never being on a Harley, I thought, man, you know, it's cool to ride a Harley-Davidson, but these things are not comfortable. And so I started asking questions, and that's whenever we found out that you had to have this little air pump. And of course, my ride got a whole lot better once I had some air underneath that seat. This is a 2010 Harley-Davidson Electra Glide that I started on whenever I first got put on to Motor Patrol. So this is the dash. You'll notice that it looks similar to that of a Harley-Davidson Street Glide, but I'm going to point out the couple differences on these police models. Here on the right hand grip cluster, you have your typical start, run, off button, and then your right turn signal. But you'll notice this red switch down here below. This is what we use to activate the emergency lighting. So if you were to slide it over one, that would engage and activate the rear emergency lighting, and then all the way to the left engages all of the emergency lighting. Of course, the Electra Glides, they come with an empty hole here, so that way that we can add our police radios, your ignition switch. We've also outfitted this vehicle with a Raptor RP1 radar system. This is the digital readout that tells us the speed depending on which antenna that we're using. This is our radio mic. This is the controls for the radar system. You'll notice where it's positioned. It's easy to use your left hand in order to lock onto a vehicle or switch between the different modes and antennas. On the right hand grip cluster, this is your high and low beam for your lights, as well as your left turn signal. And then this engages the siren. So if you wanted to have the siren constantly on, you would flip this switch to the up position and the siren would be on. Now on the bottom here, if you just wanted to, I guess you would call it to yelp or bump your siren, you would push this button here. And then it also, to engage the horn, you would push it to the left. Now on the police models, they typically come with the heated grips. Our 2018 models, they came with the factory Harley-Davidson heated grips, but the 2010s, they did not. So they have aftermarket heated grips, and they come in handy on those cold mornings or those events that you have to get to whenever it's chilly outside. Of course, you've always got to stay hydrated on those hot summer days. Alright guys, so here's the dash, if you will, of the 2018 Harley-Davidson Electra Glide. You'll notice that it's just a little bit different These gauge clusters are set up differently. Now on your right grip control here, just like the 2010s, the lights, to activate the lights, that's on the right side. So instead of having a slider switch that has two positions, with this system you simply push the button in and it activates your emergency lights front and rear. If you push it to the left, it only activates the front. If you switch it to the right, it only activates the rear lighting. On your left hand grip over here, it's very similar to the setup of the 2014 and up, with your high beam, low beam, flash, horn. This button here is the push to talk, which we don't currently have set up on this bike. Left turn signals out there on the end. And one cool feature that the 2018s have over the 2010s is this bike has cruise control, which comes in handy on the longer rides that we have to go to different events. Now the siren on the 2018, with these, to make the siren enter the well function, you simply would push it in, and then if you wanted to yelp like the old system, instead of having two different buttons, it's all one push button here. Oh, one thing I forgot to point out on this bike, you notice the radio looks a little bit different, and there's not a mic up here. You see this piece here? This new radio system is going to operate via Bluetooth, so that way we'll be able to simply push a button and we'll have a microphone in our helmet and be able to talk without having to physically pick up a mic and talk like we do in the patrol cars. Here's the seat on my Street Glide Special. As you can see, it's set up a little bit different than the police motorcycles. It doesn't have just the solo seat. That's because this seat is made for a different purpose. The police motorcycles are intended to be worked from and carry one officer, whereas this seat, it's made for the long hauls and the long road trips with the passenger. Here we have my 2015 Harley-Davidson Street Glide. You'll notice that the dash on it's a little bit different than on the police motorcycles. Here on the switch cluster, they look kind of similar, but instead of having the buttons to activate emergency lights and sirens, it's controls for the boom box. Now here in the boom box, it's a really neat setup. I've got navigation, not that I ever use it, because you're on a motorcycle after all. But you can plug in your MP3 player, you can Bluetooth from your phone, or just listen to the radio. It has a lot of really neat features. Of course, it's touchscreen and has the switches. Here on my Street Glide Special, I have a 103 cubic inch motor with the Stage 1 upgrade, which you could tell that by looking at the Screaming Eagle badging there on the air intake. So technically, my bike has more performance parts than the police motorcycles do. A lot of times I get asked the question, hey man, has that thing been souped up, or what performance parts does it have, or computer adjustments has been made to that bike to make it a police model? The long and short answer is nothing. It's just a production engine. The only thing that makes a police motorcycle is it's got a little extra wiring for all the emergency equipment and a different seat. That's pretty much it. Well guys, I hope you learned something in the video. If you still have questions about the police models of the Harley-Davidson motorcycles, be sure to leave me a comment down below and I'll try to get an answer for you. If you like the video, give it a big thumbs up. If you haven't already, go over there and click that subscribe button. I appreciate you guys watching. Y'all ride safe, and I'll see you guys in the next video.